This is your before and after story. Prepare for an incredible career in nursing. At Southeastern College, experience expert hands-on training. Learn real-world skills in our professional lab and simulated settings. And train for opportunities as a practical nurse, registered nurse, or career advancement with our RN to BSN program. At Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, a WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. We're your hosts, John and Kristen Barber, and today we are continuing our season snapshot series looking at the Chicago Sky, a very ambitious team that made a handful of trades in the lead up to the draft. Let's see if they paid off and if their team composition is going to be an improvement on where they were last year. Before we get into all the details about the Chicago Sky, as always, I'll ask Kristen, how are you?
I'm good, John. I'm excited to talk about the Sky. Peek behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. We're recording this on Tuesday, the previous Tuesday that this came out.
Yeah, now that we're doing this in advance, we just have to say every time we're recording, this is the real day that we're recording.
Mm-hmm. We're doing this because we're going to a friend's wedding this weekend.
So we'll be a little busy, but we want to make sure these don't fall behind.
Yes. So I'm anticipating that the wedding was great and that I'm doing well.
Yes. I'm sure we're having a blast during the long weekend. Mm-hmm. So, our season snapshot series, if you haven't checked out the prior episodes, we have already covered the Golden State Valkyries, the LA Sparks, and the Dallas Wings. Go back and check those out. Those are nice bite-sized pods to get you ready and prepared about all the moves that the teams made in the lead up to the 2025 WNBA season. So it's a good little refresher or a primer for somebody that's new to the WNBA, which I know we have all sorts of new fans. So welcome in. And if you're new to Attack the Baseline, welcome in as well. You can contact us if you'd like at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or you can connect with us on Bluesky and Instagram at ATBPod, where we're talking about games, getting ready for the season, sharing whatever fun stuff comes across our timelines as we look forward to another exciting WNBA season. But let's get into it today. Chicago Sky. At the top, a number of departures, many departures actually. The Chicago Sky from last year lost the following players: Isabel Harrison, Bree Turner, Diamond DeShields, Lindsay Allen, Dana Evans, Kennedy Carter, still unsigned, and Maria Conde. They brought in a good amount of players as well. In a trade, they acquired Ariel Atkins. They also acquired Rebecca Allen in a separate trade. They signed a number of free agents, Courtney Vandersloot and Kia Nurse. And they currently have 6 training camp contracts of players that we are more or less unfamiliar with, who will be competing for the maybe 1 or 2 open roster spots left for this team. And during the draft, they had 4 selections. They selected Aisha Sivka at 10. They selected Hailey Van Lith at 11. They selected Maddie Westbeld at 16. And they selected Aisha Coulibaly at 22, sister of Bilal Coulibaly, older sister of Bilal Coulibaly, who's in the NBA. I always like that when there's the relationships of a brother or sister in the league. So there we go. That is who has gone and who has been brought in. Obviously, we have Angel and Kamilla still hanging around. We have Michaela Onyenwere still hanging around. And we have what I expect to be a more competitive team than last year. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think having Angel and Kamilla both having their rookie year under their belt, they will both be better. Angel Reese saw huge improvements in Unrivaled, and Kamilla was doing incredible basketball overseas in the off season. So both of them, I think, will be better this year than they were last year. And then having a more experienced, solid point guard in Courtney Vandersloot, I think will make a huge difference for the team. Someone who hopefully can work well with Angel Reese. So yeah, definitely the team will be better than last year, where last year they barely missed the playoffs.
Right, missed the playoffs by a game. They were right behind the Atlanta Dream for that 8th spot. They ended the season 13-26, a record that tied the Washington Mystics at 13-26. So room for improvement, plenty of room for improvement. And you're right, Angel Reese and Kamilla Cardoso, the two major building blocks of this team, are entering year 2 and should be expected to take at least a step forward, if not a massive leap forward. Angel, there's questions about, can she improve on her finishing? Yeah, a lot of people spent time criticizing her for her inability to finish around the rim. However, that led to a number of rebounds, which she is clearly very good at, maybe perhaps already top 5 or 10 in the league. So if she can keep that rebound ability and add finishing, then we should expect a leap from Angel. And with the way that Kamilla was playing overseas, I would expect a monster season for Kamilla Cardoso, even a potential, all-star nod in her future, especially looking at the way this team is set up. And you said it right. Courtney Vandersloot, a very capable point guard who is very comfortable playing in Chicago. She spent, I believe it was 12 years, maybe even 14 years with Chicago before she was with New York. So she knows her way around the Sky facility, and she was very excited about the opportunity to return there. And then, they had the trade of the 3rd overall pick for Ariel Atkins, a player that they made a concerted effort to go out and get, which, at the time we questioned on the pod and off the pod. But they're going to expect Ariel to add shooting, add scoring juice, and, increase the number of made threes that they had in a game on average above 5, because they did not shoot the 3-ball well, and they really didn't shoot the 3-ball at all. So a lot of room for improvement. I will say the addition of, Beck Allen as another capable 3-point shooter will be helpful for this team as well. And then I've always liked Michaela Onyenwere. I think she's a very good player. So I think, this is maybe one of the teams that I think has the highest variance in my mind. I could see them, everything going really well and then being, a solid playoff team, or needing a little more time to figure it out. So, do you agree with me that they're like really hard to nail down, or do you feel like super confident one way or another about whether they're going to be good or bad?
I definitely think they'll be better than last year for sure. They also have a new coach.
Yes, Tyler Marsh.
Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. He seems like a good coach, although we would have hoped that they would have given Teresa Weatherspoon another shot. Deserved. Who seemed to have a very good relationship with the players. So they have a new coach. Hopefully that will work out. But I think they will be better. But I think a lot of other teams will also be better. So did they get better enough to leap over some of these other teams? I don't know. I think they did get better, but a lot of other teams did too.
Right. So it's funny that, like, theoretically the team could be better, but their record could be worse. Isn't that kind of crazy to think about? Because, like, I'm not saying that they're gonna win less than 13 games. I feel strongly that they'll improve more than 13 games, but with every team getting better, seemingly getting better above them as well, those teams could increase their win totals. Like, it can't be universal across the board, everybody getting more wins, because there's only so many wins to go around. So, like, would I be shocked if they, ended up with 13 wins again this year? I don't think so. But that's why it's hard for me to tell. They could be an above 500 team. They could win a lot of games if Kamilla and Angel are, what they need, if they work, if they figure it out, because I still sometimes question the fit between the two of them, because there's only so much room up there in the front court. But they can evolve. They're capable. They're young. They're athletic. I believe in their ability. So let's talk about the starting five here. First off, let's look at guarantees, protected veterans. We have Ariel Atkins, Rebecca Allen, Mariah Jefferson, and Rachel Banham, all protected veterans. So with their guarantees on their contract, you'd expect all of them to make the team. Would you like to go over our starting lineup and see if you have any changes that you would like to make?
Yes. We have Courtney Vandersloot as the starting point guard, Ariel Atkins starting at shooting guard, Rebecca Allen at the 3, small forward, Angel Reese as the power forward, Kamilla Cardoso at center. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think this is pretty cut and dry. I could see the argument to play Michaela over Beck, but I feel like that's the one area that you could really argue. They trade a high pick for Ariel. Ariel will be starting. They sign Sloot to a high contract. Sloot will be starting, and Angel and Kamilla obviously going to start. The two second-year players who started as rookies. We talked about that a lot last year, about how Chicago was the one franchise that was starting 2 rookies in these prominent positions. So both of them I expect to carry over, obviously.
I will say, I forgot about this. Angel Reese got injured at the very end of last WNBA season.
Was it her wrist?
She had a fracture in her wrist, hairline fracture. She ended up having surgery on that after the season.
Right.
Then she got hurt again at the very end of Unrivaled season.
Right, the last game.
And she missed...
Or the third to last game or something like that? Like right at the end.
Yeah, right at the end. And she missed the championship game in Unrivaled.
Still a champion, though.
So that was also a hand injury. There's a lot of questionable things happening with the injury status in Unrivaled, players' injury statuses.
Yeah.
So we were never totally disclosed on what the exact nature of that injury was, nor have the Chicago Sky really provided an update on the status of that. We're assuming that she will be back for the start of the year, but right now it's really actually unclear.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
That makes it interesting. Because at that point, I don't really know what you do if she's missing time. I guess you could play Elizabeth Williams, or maybe even Maddie Westbeld gets some run there as a rookie. if we're looking at the rest of how the team projects to build out, we also are having them fully sign Kia Nurse, Rachel Banham, Michaela Onyenwere, Maddie Westbeld, Elizabeth Williams, Mariah Jefferson, and Hailey Van Lith. So a pretty expensive roster. A lot of contracts above 100K. And, you know, really the only, let's say, cheap contracts, I would say, are Angel, Kamilla, Maddie Westbeld, assuming she makes a team, and Hailey Van Lith there. So, you know, a lot of money up front. And yeah, I think, you know, if Angel does miss time, that could be a problem for this guy. So it's good that you point that out, because yeah, it's sort of, it happens so quickly that it's easy to forget that she, you know, was on a plane the night that the Rose Basketball Club wins the championship, and we're like, where the heck is Angel? She's flying back to Chicago for whatever she's
presumably get surgery again.
Probably, or at least like another checkup. But it would be nice if Chicago was a little more open, especially getting close to training camp on the 2nd of May. So worth keeping an eye on for sure. For sure.
Well, I will say, I do think in that situation where Angel is out, Elizabeth Williams would be able to fill her spot. I am an Elizabeth Williams fan, although last year she was injured.
Right.
She was on my fantasy team last year for only a little bit of the season, and then she got hurt, and I kept her on my roster, but she never played again.
Right.
So she's 6'3". She can fill Angel's spot.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, she has a solid, 10 points per game. So, and she's more experienced. She's older. So,
yeah.
She would be able to fill in for sure.
Yeah. No, I want to see more Elizabeth Williams because of how much you talked her up because of your fantasy team. You did like paying attention to her, but I feel like right as you were starting to talk about her more, she picked up her injury last season. So we'll have to see what she can bring this year, but I do expect her to get a lot of opportunity because, this team is built around two bigs, but, as far as their big depth, it's not too many. They actually have quite a few guards that we expect to make this team. And, everybody from the 3, 4, and 5 spots are really only a starter and a backup right now. So I think there's going to be a lot of lineups where we're seeing Rachel Banham chuck a lot, shoot a lot of threes. We're going to see Hailey Van Lith learning from Courtney Vandersloot on how to be, a playable guard in the WNBA. Like, they have to get these smaller players out there, and there could be, occasions where we see 3-guard looks with the 2 bigs, but it's going to be interesting to see just because some of their more quality, even veteran players there are in the 1s and 2 position.
Going back to something you said earlier about not really being able to fully predict the ceiling of this team. This could be a scenario like what happened with the Lynx last year, where all these players are coming from different teams. They've kind of been put together. They all, I recognize their names, of course, but they're not like the team leader, standout big players on any one team.
Right.
But maybe they end up working really well together and they can make some sort of run. I think that's possible. Rebecca Allen, Ariel Atkins, Kia Nurse are all very solid, dependable players.
Right.
That if they happen to gel really well together, that it could work out.
Yeah. And I mean, Rebecca Allen spent a lot of time hurt last year as well. So they have a number of players that spent a good portion of their last seasons hurt that had pretty high expectations. And, very important to note here, they gave up their pick in the 2026 draft. They traded it to Minnesota so that they could have 11 overall in this past draft, which they used to select Hailey Van Lith. So they sort of mortgage their future to be a competitive team now. So I fully intend on expecting them to play very hard and go all in for it. So there's no skirting around. There's no Paige Beckers this year that they might be tanking for. They're going to try to win, and they're going to do their damnedest to do so. And I would hope that, that trade is indicative of Angel's good to go. Like, we're ready to go. We're not going to wait for 26. We're going to try to win in 25.
Sure. It was a late trade.
Correct. So then looking at the team as a whole, strengths and weaknesses, what do you say? What do you see off the top?
I mean, obviously their bigs are something to root for and have a very high ceiling with Angel Reese, Kamilla Cardoso.
Yeah.
I think Angel is going to have an incredible year.
Yeah.
Where last year she already was leading the league in rebounds. I think she has become more efficient in the offseason and still can lead the league in rebounds. So, I'm not worried at all about Angel and Kamilla. They're going to be great.
Right.
I'm very excited to see Angel play with Hailey Van Lith. I think that is a strength because they already have a previous relationship playing together at LSU.
Some chemistry, for sure.
For sure. So kind of like the relationships in that sense, I think are a strength of this team.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That's a good unorthodox strength, I would say.
Sure.
It's not one that comes to mind right away.
I really love that they have Courtney Vandersloot bringing some experience to the team.
Yes.
She won the championship last year with the Liberty.
Yes.
So she's coming off a great year. So I think all those things are strengths. I think they have a lot of potential.
Yes. I think potential's there. The weakness is just experience in general for Kamilla and for Angel. Lack of experience doesn't mean that they'll be bad. They can accelerate their careers faster than we might expect. I think they're certainly improved in the shooting department. They have a lot of shooters when you look at the squad. I think, maybe injury could be a potential weakness. If any of these players re-aggravate their injuries, then that could be an issue that it would be something that could hold them back. But, they have quality young talent. They have veteran players that are at their athletic peaks, your Kia Nurses, your Beck Allens, your Ariel Atkins. They have stalwart veterans in Courtney Vandersloot. I think I'm flipping back over in my mind. I think they're going to be fairly competitive. And, I think they covered up some of their holes from last year pretty well.
No, they definitely did. And something that I don't think we mentioned when you were talking about not having a pick next year, they did pick this year Aisha Sivka.
Right. And they stashed her.
Right. We presume she's not coming over this year. So potentially she comes over next year and that's a pick that they, basically get next year.
Right. Right. Or they make some sort of a new move and one of these players gets cut and she does come over and she's, 6'4" and can shoot. That's pretty enticing. So she could be a late season ad for a playoff push.
Could.
So in the context, 13 teams, where do you have the Chicago Sky finishing overall? We've been all around with our last three teams.
We've been one off every time.
We've been one off. Let's see if we nail it.
I have the Chicago Sky finishing 6th.
Wow. The duality of pod. I have the Chicago Sky finishing 10th.
What?
Well, we talked about the Wings yesterday.
Yeah.
And I have the Wings a spot above them.
See,
and
yeah, okay.
And I don't want to spoil it because we haven't talked about all these teams, but I just look at the other ones around the league and I feel like their play styles are more realized than Chicago's is. Now, Tyler Marsh could be, making me look like a fool because he runs a completely incredible offense to add to a team that has a good defense. I need to see it. I need to see them being capable of shooting threes like a modern basketball team and scoring the ball at a decent pace. And what they did in this offseason improves that. Right now, though, in my gut, I have them a little lower than some people might have them.
Sure. Okay.
So we're pretty split on it.
That is funny because you were sounding like you were going to have them higher than me. But here we are. I have them much higher than you. I think just looking at the rest of my list without going into real spoilers, I feel like they just have a good amount of depth. Perhaps more depth than other teams.
Okay. I can see arguments for the depth helping them through a lot of these cases where some of these other teams with lacking in depth.
For sure.
Could be issues.
For sure.
Okay. Well, that's all I have to say on Chicago. You got anything else?
I guess something I will say to close is relating to the departure of Kennedy Carter. Kennedy Carter, who has had lots of ups and downs in this league. She played for the Sky last year and was very much in the conversation of most improved player.
Yep.
She was good on the Sky last year.
Yep.
The previous year, in 2023, she sat out because no team wanted her on the team for locker room reasons.
Right.
And I think the year before that, she was on a team, whatever. We've gone back and forth.
Yeah.
From being in the league and being out of the league. And, seemingly other things happened on the Sky with her that have led the Sky to not give her another contract. And I think, from keeping up with vaguely what she's been doing in the offseason overseas, she's been playing great overseas.
Yep.
It's really just like kind of a shame to me.
Yep.
Because from everything that we could see, that the viewers could see during a game, like she is a very exciting, fiery player.
Yeah.
That like people could get behind.
Yeah.
So I just hope for Kennedy Carter's sake that she finds her place on a team eventually that she like fits in better with.
Yeah. I completely agree and echo that sentiment. She should be on a team. She at the very least should be on a training camp contract. She should be in training camp with one of these teams. And as of right now, she's currently a UFA. And, there's a good chance that she ends up being out of the league again. And then we'll be, it could be next year where we're saying, where the heck is Kennedy Carter? Somebody needs a guard. A team needs a guard. Why don't they sign Kennedy Carter?
Well, I mean, reasons unknown to us.
Yes.
But I hope that those can be resolved.
Sure.
Because she is a very good player.
Yes. Agreed. So wishing the best to Kennedy and wherever she goes from here. So that is going to wrap up our talk on the Chicago Sky. We'll see if they end up 6th or end up 10th or end up somewhere in between or above or below. But if you'd like to connect with us and let us know what you think about the Chicago Sky, you could do so at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or connect with us on Bluesky or Instagram at ATBPod. We're going to be continuing this series with the Washington Mystics, who I'm excited to talk about. But Kristen, I'm staring at the baseline, and what are we going to do?
Attack it.
Attack the baseline. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back soon with more team composition.